Hello, and welcome back to the Determined Student channel. As always, my name is Fernando, and I'm happy that you're all here today. There's a story that I'm sure we all have learned. This is a story that's passed down through many generations and has been taught throughout the world. It is one that I haven't recalled for a very long time, but just recently picked up on and gained a new insight on, is the story of the tortoise and the hare. I don't have to explain the whole story. I'm sure most of you know. Essentially, it starts with having a rabbit, a hare, and a turtle, or excuse me, a tortoise. And they were both challenged to a race. And as you would expect, since the rabbit is so much faster, or excuse me, the hare in this case was so much faster, they were able to get more than halfway through the race. The tortoise, despite being slow, was persistently steady and focused on their goal to get to where they wanted to get to. And as the rabbit would get through the halfway through the race, they decided to take a break and rest. They rested a little too long, and then before they knew it, once they woke up, the tortoise was already towards the end, and it was a little too late for the hare. They would run the rest of the way, and the tortoise would actually win the race. Now, why I want to talk about this is that there is so much that we can learn from that. From personal experience, I'm going to use cleaning as an example. When I would clean my home, I would act a lot like the hare. I would just clean for very intense hours and get much as I can done. But then once I got it all, the house was done or clean, then I would be exhausted and I wouldn't touch the home or even think about doing another chore for like the next 2 weeks because of how tired it was. And I just said, I can't do this. I don't want to do this again tomorrow. And as you can tell, that when time passes, when dishes need to be done, when the floors need to get swept or mopped or vacuumed or what have you, you let things pass, and then before you know it, with those 2 weeks now, you have to re-energize yourself, re-motivate yourself, and then if you don't break that cycle, you're just gonna spend the whole day spending many hours cleaning the home, and then it's just gonna be the same thing again and again. If we could just take the approach of the tortoise, for example, instead of having to spend all that energy once every 2 weeks or once a month, why not just implement like 15 minutes a day? And you just focus, you just spot clean a little bit here, and you go to the kitchen, the bathroom, living space, and you continue for 15 minutes. And then once you're done, you're done. And if you want to push a little more, you can do just a little more, but don't overdo it because then you're going to be tired the next day. But if we can just have more of a mindset of the tortoise and just spend a little bit of time each day, then it's going to maintain the home and it's going to look great every single day of the year, as opposed to like looking immaculate for a little bit and then looking really bad when the month ends or the 2 weeks ends. Not only but just keep in mind that that's one example. What I want to mainly focus on is with our goals. The goals that we set for ourselves. One of the main focuses of this channel is to try to improve ourselves through building goals. I would put a strong emphasis, and instead of having to like put like a deep and multi-hour focus on a goal, say, oh, I'm going to dedicate 8 hours for learning this or doing this. What's going to happen is two things. One, the mind doesn't really maintain that kind of knowledge in one day. The brain doesn't work that way. The way that the brain actually works is through repetition, spaced repetition. You review again and again and again. You can't just read something once and then it's just in your mind and then you're done. We're not like computers or machines. It requires time and repetition to learn that. So even if you spend all that time cramming for an exam or learning a new skill, it's not going to be done in a matter of one session and then you're done. I can speak through personal experience, and that's not how it works. And the thing is that moreover, when you spend all that time and then when next week comes and you want to try to implement the skills or the knowledge that you learned and then you feel disappointed, you could be like, well, I didn't learn anything. What was the point? I'm just going to give up. It's not going to help anyone or anything. And even if it's not skill based, let's say if you want to do writing, for example, you're a great writer, and it's no longer learning a skill, but it's more so you want to follow a goal. Your goal is to finish writing a book. If you spend like 16 hours or 12 hours and do a lot of sessions of just writing the book for like 3 days straight, and then before you know it, once you're done, you'll be like, okay, I'm exhausted. Tomorrow comes, you're not going to want to pick up the book anymore. You're going to be like, I'm fed up with it. I'm tired. I can't do this. I don't want to do this anymore. And then 2 weeks passes, a month passes, 2 months passes, 3 months will pass, and then eventually you're gonna look back to yourself and say, "Oh, I let 3 months pass, and I haven't gotten any newer closer to the book." Instead of being like the hare, be like the tortoise. Just spend 15 minutes a day on the book. Some days, you only want to spend those 15 minutes, and you can be like, "I don't want to do this anymore. I did the 15 minutes. I'm done. I don't like writing today. I have brain fog. I can't come up with anything. I'm going to spend the 15 minutes and then I can't. I'm just going to move on and do something else with the rest of my day." And that's fine. And the next day, what you're going to realize is on the next day, you're going to maybe not, it won't be as bad. You'll be able to get on a flow. You'll get your writing done. And you do your 15 minutes and then you feel a little better about yourself. It's like, oh, this was nice. And then the next day, it may be bad or it may even get better. Maybe you might have another day on the third day that you're just in a completely lost in your writing and or whatever you're implementing and working on, you're completely lost and now you're in a particular flow state and you don't want to stop. And then you spend the next hour, 2 hours, 2.5 hours on whatever it is. And you have gained so much progress and then you feel like a stronger sense of fulfillment. And then you're going to want to do it again tomorrow. So just because I say 15 minutes a day doesn't necessarily mean you only do 15 minutes and then you stop. What I'm actually trying to say is do it every day for at least 15 minutes a day. If you did the 15 minutes and you're saying, I can't do this, I don't want to do this, I'm tired of this, I'm fed up, then you stop. At least you were consistent, like the tortoise. You were consistent like the tortoise. And then the second day, like the tortoise, you're gonna do it again for 15 minutes. You might be slower like the tortoise, but again, remember the story. At the end, the tortoise was focused. The tortoise was persistent. They kept walking. They didn't stop for anything. They just had a focus and a desire to win the race again and again and again. And they were slower than the rabbit, but they made more accomplishments and met their goal. They finished their goal sooner than the rabbit because the rabbit was too exhausted and just took a break because they figured two things. One, because they were arrogant, thinking, oh, I can beat the tortoise or whatever. And two, it's probably because they were exhausted. It's just all that energy going through halfway through the race and they were tired. And then they just needed to rest. So instead of like going through like short bursts and then like resting long, why not just be persistently a little each day? And you grow and grow and grow and grow. And like I mentioned, knowledge is not that clear cut. You can't just study it in one session. So if you spend 15 minutes a day learning something, your knowledge will build. You review what you learned, knowledge will build. Review what you learned. And it builds and builds and builds and builds. You know what the cool thing is? I have a graph right here. So this is called the plateau latent potential. Now, essentially, I'm going to look into it so I can remember this. So what you have is that you have at the bottom, which is what you think your progress should be like, which is like a straight linear curve. When people think that they learn and do something, they think it's in a progression of a linear curve. But when in reality, the way that the mind works is not so much like that. We end up at this divot at the bottom. There's a lateral curve that what we think should happen. This is what actually happens. We spend many, 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 many days, weeks, even months, sometimes even a year trying to learn something. But we end up in this little area called the Valley of Disappointment. Now, this is where the majority of people tend to give up. And they say, well, I spent months. I spent 15 minutes a day, and I didn't get anywhere. And it almost feels like you haven't gotten anywhere. You feel like that you've spent so much time studying the book to be an engineer. You spent so much time learning to be a doctor. You spent so much time and effort and energy, and you were consistent. And you didn't feel like you got anywhere. That's the value of disappointment. Now, here's the thing. If you can push past that and you can continue to believe in yourself and keep trying and keep building, you're going to notice in that little graph, instead of going through this little linear path, you now are exploding exponentially. And you're going to be like way, way, way up here compared to here, where it's more linear. And you're still growing, but it's more gradual. That's exponential growth. Is where you see nothing in the beginning. You're spending so much time, so much effort, but yet eventually it just blows up. Just like how when you have like a tree, you have a tiny little sapling in the beginning. For the next few, like 2 or 3 or 4 years, it's just growing very slow, and before you know it, within the next few years, it doubles, and then it doubles, and it doubles, and doubles, and just reaches way taller than what we can ever grow to be. And it grows really, really, really large. That can be anything that you learn as well. The way that we learn is through exponential growth. This is all the more reason why you should try to adapt the tortoise approach, because when you implement a little each day, you're going to be consistent, and through that consistency, your mind and your brain's going to come up with more ways and create more neurons in your mind, more connections to make you more smart and to make you more intelligent and knowledgeable. You know, the 3 things that we need to be able to be a well-rounded, smart, and ingenious individuals, having those 3 things. And when you do all that, you're going to just blow up exponentially. Again, if you try to do the tortoise approach or the hare approach, it's not going to work. We can't cram all that thing. We don't have the modern technology to like just implement something in our mind, and then tomorrow you're now like you're like the most knowledgeable person in philosophy or medicine or science. If one of you comes up with a method of doing that, let me know, because it will make things so much convenient and easier, and you would find the ultimate cure for making the world a much better place, because we would then all become our best individuals. But that's just me being an optimist and wishful thinking. I know it can happen. I know one of you is going to do it. Be it, and I know that all things can be possible at the end of the day. But until then, we're just gonna have to try this approach, and just through exponential growth, we will get there. We will grow and grow and grow, and then just blow up. And this doesn't just apply to knowledge; it applies to like a lot of other things. But I want to cover more into that in detail in another video. For now, let's just try to implement it on that. Let's try to be more like the tortoise. Let's just be focused on our goals, be focused on our dreams and our desires, our wants, the things that we long for in life. Let's try to just stay focused and just do 15 minutes a day, at least. If you can do more, then do more, but don't overdo it. Don't do more than like 2 or 3 hours. Don't get too lost either. Because, you know, we all have our own lives. We got to take care of things, clean ourselves, take care of families and friends. So don't get too lost when you're in the flow state, but just lost enough that you can do a lot. And yeah, again, some days you're not going to want to do it at all. You're going to be like, forget this. At least you did the 15 minutes. At least you progressed just a little bit. Just a little bit. At least you progressed. At least you could look back and say, hey, I really did not want to do it. This felt like a massive chore, but at least I did it. And then tomorrow, the human mind, or the mind in general, is weird like that. Tomorrow you're going to be like motivated, you're going to be passionate, you're going to be like, okay, now I really want to do this today. I spent so much time. Next day, you're going to feel average and be like, okay, yeah, I did my 15 minutes and I'm good. Be consistent. It's funny how the mind works that way. Some days we wake up invigorated with energy. Other days it's dragging and we just don't want to do it. But be consistent. Be like the tortoise. And you will get there. You will get to the finish line much faster than the rabbit or the hare. Yeah, that's essentially what I wanted to talk about. Let's all be tortoises. Let's all try to be just incremental, little by little by little by little, and then we'll explode. Just like this graph. Whoop. Just like this graph here. We'll all be the best version of ourselves if we do continue to have a tortoise mindset, little by little. And yeah, that's essentially what I wanted to talk about. And as always, I'm always open to feedback, because feedback is going to help me exponentially to be the best version of myself, to be able to reach out to as many people as possible online. I want to try to reach out to other successful YouTube neighbors, virtual neighbors, who can maybe teach me on how I can reach out to more people. That way this message can reach as many people, and the follow-up messages as well. That way I can benefit through it financially, so I can do this full time, just being honest. That way I can make this mutually beneficial. I can help everyone out there, and everyone out there can help me, so I can monetize the videos. And I don't have to work a 9 to 5 anymore, and instead I can do this full time and stream full time, and then try to continue to motivate and encourage everybody to be the best version of themselves. And I know that we'll get there one step at a time, one day at a time, one decision at a time, and just a little bit, 15 minutes a day. Yeah, essentially that was it. And I appreciate you all for stopping by and checking out the video as always. And know that you're loved, know that I love you, and I hope you all reach your hopes and dreams one day, and hopefully I will too, and that we'll all get there together. Anyway, that's all I wanted to share for today, and I hope you all have a great day and great evening, and take care. All right, bye.